Holy cow, so freaking pod.
Chapter 8. Hi again, it's Charles.
And Cherry Doom.
And Chad. In this chapter, something happens that has never happened before. An unprecedented event which we have had no whiff of in any of the previous chapters. Christian and Anna have sex.
Oh my god!
Whoa!
I love you. I can't believe this far together.
It's alright.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so the real summary is here, too.
At the beginning of the chapter, Christian expresses confusion and anger upon learning that Anastasia is a virgin. Through a series of backhanded compliments, as well as a chain of illogical reasoning, Christian decides he will rectify the situation and F the Jeff out of Anastasia. They do it, and then they do it again. Anastasia awakens late at night, sometime later, and finds Christian nakedly playing some piano. They return to the bedroom and observe the blood of Anastasia's virginity on the sheets. Christian will not allow Anastasia to touch him, but allows her to occupy a bed with him while he touches her. Addendum. So, something happened in this chapter that we may have mentioned just a few seconds ago. Anna and Christian, they do it. So here's a summary of the thing that they do. If, for some reason, and this is totally fine, you didn't listen to the last episode in which the entire chapter was read. So, here we go. Anastasia and Christian have a tiny kiss, and then Christian grabs her ponytail. And they go to the bedroom, where somehow telepathically Christian understands that Anna is not on the pill. Actually, he just sort of assumes this. He pulls out a condom and says, "Be prepared." So then they make out. Christian undresses Anastasia and sticks his nose in her hoo-ha. That's gross. Then he takes her shoes off. Then he takes her shoes and socks and bites her feet. Actually, I don't think does he bite her feet?
He scrapes his. I think he's yes. Well, I don't know. He scrapes his fingernail along her instep, and then he licks it. I don't know if he bites it.
He gums at her feet. Anastasia reveals she does not masturbate when asked to show how she pleasures herself. Christian does some nipple play type stuff, and she orgasms. He fingers her, then puts on a condom and penetrates her. Anastasia orgasms again. Who would have thought? He takes the condom off, puts another one on, presumably, and takes her from behind. Anastasia orgasms yet again. Christian rolls over, and Anna rolls into a ball.
I think that's everything.
I think so, yeah.
I believe so.
There's a lot of groaning, I guess, we missed.
Well, whatever. My pet theory this episode is that Christian is role-playing Scar from Lion King because he says be prepared when he takes out the condom. So I read it as be prepared. Anastasia and Christian have little mini anagram names. So Anastasia is Nala. If that's Anastasia Steele, there's an L in her last name. And Scar, Christian, that's actually in his first name only. So Scar and Anna, Scar is Christian, Anna is Nala. This is the period of time where Simba is gone and Scar is ruling over the Lion Kingdom, if you will. Jose is Simba. I didn't check to see if his last name is an anagram, but it's close enough.
There's no M or B
Shit.
or A.
Well, anyways, Jose is Simba, and he will eventually overthrow Christian, and that is my pet theory.
So at one point, Christian is mouthing his way up Anna's body, and she says he's heading north, kissing across my torso. I'm wondering how she knew that, like, the direction that he was moving was in fact north. She should be totally disoriented because of what's going on, and just, like, you know, if you are going through a bunch of rooms in a house, you won't necessarily know, like, which direction is north. So my pet theory is that she has an internal compass, much like a bird, and that she maybe actually is a bird, perhaps a tengu. And it also would explain her lack of eating, because she's eating like a bird.
There's some, I think it's Aboriginal tribe in Australia, just like that island area. I'm so bad, I'm so sorry, but
That island area.
yeah, they have, because of the way their language is, they don't have left and right, they have like west and east and north and south. That's how you refer to things. So they do have an internal compass like that. So maybe Anna is actually from one of these groups of people. So
maybe
just mentioning. All right, let's move on.
So I have 2 pet theories. No, I have 3. So the first one comes from a line spoken by Anna very early in the chapter where she says, his usual concrete control seems to have slipped a notch. So perhaps Christian is a concrete elemental. Like, he controls concrete literally, and his control has slipped, so the building is falling apart around them. And actually, they're in a panic. And Anna is actually made of concrete. Like, she's like a golem or a homunculus, which is why she shatters in splinters. She's made of concrete. And, like, they're not really having sex. This Christian is just, like, using his elemental powers, and she's misinterpreting it.
I really like that theory because of the use of the term concrete elemental. I'm really thrilled that somebody used that to describe her.
Whoa, hey, hold on. Isn't Elliot in construction? Does that mean that perhaps he made Christian?
Well, maybe he conferred some of his powers onto Christian.
Yeah.
Maybe this is all just some twisted mind game with concrete Anna. They're trying to chip away at her heart of stone. So the second one is that just Anna is made of glass because she shatters in splinters, and then also several times feelings cause her pain, sharp pain.
I actually have to push you on this one because I don't think glass splinters. That sounds like something wood would do.
Glass can splinter, but it's very different. You get like slivers of glass. I would consider those like that splintering.
Okay,
but
I'll allow it.
this is a very loose definition of splinter. And the third one is that Christian is Duke Nukem because he says baby a lot in this chapter.
Baby.
Shake it, baby.
Those are some good theories. I think my favorite is probably the concrete elemental one. It's just so good. I choose that. I award that theory winner of this podcast. Okay, so now we're on to bad nonsense that happened in this chapter. Here's the first passage. I'm not going to go into the millions of grammatical comma things, and because there's a lot. I mean, there's even more this chapter, it seems like, than other chapters. The quote is, the first one is, suddenly he sits up and tugs my panties off and throws them on the floor. Pulling off his boxer briefs, his erection springs free. This makes it sound like his erection was like the thing taking off his pants, which is weird. Or rather, his boxer brief, not his pants.
It's very strong-willed.
It pulls it off, and it springs free. It's gonna escape. Alright, the next one. 2 orgasms. Coming apart at the seams, like the spin cycle on a washing machine. Wow. How is coming apart at the seams in any way like a spin cycle washing machine? It doesn't, like, dismember your clothes. I don't think she understands what an analogy is. Makes me really mad.
I don't have any. I have stopped noticing, I guess. Or something.
I guess you just tune it all out so you can actually read the book without...
Yeah,
you sort of get jaded. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff, but I've stopped noting a lot of it because it's not interesting or it's too similar to stuff we've already covered.
It's like at this point you have to point out the things that are weird, such as my previous 2, because those are legitimately weird and strange and haven't showed up before.
This, like, that line is really funny for several reasons. The, like, coming apart at the seams. Because no matter, like, which way you approach it, there's no way for it to make sense.
No, there isn't.
A spin cycle doesn't have seams. A washing machine doesn't have seams.
Like, I get what she was trying to say. Like, maybe the problem is that she should have put a period instead of a comma.
Maybe she means to say, like, being in a centrifuge. No, that doesn't make sense either, because that's not how a centrifuge works. But, I mean, if she is, like, separating into her separate parts based on, like, density and weight, that could be coming apart and creating separations, I guess.
I think of those videos where they put something like a really heavy rock inside of a washing machine and they just break it because it builds up so much momentum that it just, like, falls apart. Have you seen those? They're great.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what she was thinking of.
I'm still panting, trying to slow my breathing, my thumping heart, and my thoughts are in riotous disarray. That is a terrible sentence. She basically starts a list, and then at the end, with the "and," she puts in a new clause. So, like, I'm still panting, trying to slow my breathing, my thumping heart, and my thoughts are in riotous disarray. It's like a non sequitur. It really should have been separated with a period or a semicolon or something.
I guess she was in too much riotous disarray to check her grammar.
Apparently. And then on page 117 of the print copy, just the whole bottom paragraph that's describing, like, them going at it, it's just so mechanical. Like, it's just written so mechanically and, like, joylessly. It's just really, it's terrible.
It's funny that you say that since we're in the mechanics section. It was written mechanically. So the next section would be Americant things. here we go. I realized that I've not seen his naked chest before. I've never heard an American say I've not blah blah blah. Like I've not ever like no, we don't say that.
It's very interesting, like the placement of the apostrophe like totally changes the sound of thing. Like I realized that I haven't seen his naked chest before would sound much more American.
Yeah, it would.
And I mean, if you take away the apostrophe, I realize that I have not seen his naked chest before. I mean, it could go like one of two places.
Yeah.
But it just like totally the placement of the apostrophe totally changes the sound of it.
It's kind of like a silly thought I just had, but I wonder if English people don't say haven't because they have to say like haven't instead of haven't.
Well, it depends on what accent they have.
That might be. I mean, if they're getting rid of the H and the A, because it just flows better for them.
And it just sounds cool as well, but regardless, it's not how we talk.
It's sort of an interesting thing because of like the accents. So I think the majority of the English, particularly like that Anna would be probably using, considering her interest in British literature, would be received rather than like working class, like Cockney or something, which is where you would.
Are we getting into My Fair Lady?
But I just mean like dropping the H's on things, like where you'd put.
Oh God, what if she was so much of a nerd that like she did all that stuff, like, "Oi, governor."
She just walked around as a stereotypical chimney sweep at all times because that was her impression.
Right, she's basically talking like Dick Van Dyke this entire time. Read the book like that.
I wish I could do an accent like to make Anna sound like one of those really stereotypical, overweight British like house marms, which is just like mousy Anna, but in like a really, really like shrill, like accenty way.
So, Anastasia Lansbury is what I'm getting at here. Quote, quote, "No one's really, end quote," and into narrative voice, "come up to scratch, only you." What? Has anybody ever said, I don't even know if this is like an American thing or not, it might just be like not English, "No one's ever come up to scratch," like.
Yeah, I don't like come scratch it at what? Her door maybe, but
It makes it sound like Anna is a big plot of dirt and a bunch of chickens are coming to scratch on her.
It is a very strange phrasing.
Or maybe it means come up to scratch as in, maybe it means come up to scratch as in, like meeting a certain standard.
Oh, whoa, that's crazy. That's rude. So she's saying like those other guys don't matter because like they haven't met the standard.
I mean, is that the way you would say that? If that's what that meant?
No, you would say like
being up to scratch.
Yeah, up to scratch.
Come up to scratch, maybe.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean that would be like a very interesting way of phrasing it, but that could be one reading of it. Sure, that's cool.
Yeah. Huh. Let's see. I only have one, and it's him saying, "This doesn't mean I've come over all hearts and flowers," which I don't know. It just seems very coming over something.
I guess again with the I've, but that's not that on its by itself is not indicative of anything, but it has a sound like that. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Chad?
I do not have anything. You guys basically got it.
That's fine. That's enough examples. Okay, so now we're into wording, which there's a lot of bad stuff. I'll show you. Here's a little line of dialogue that perfectly illustrates this. "We're going to rectify the situation right now." "What do you mean? What situation?" "Your situation, Anna. I'm going to make love to you. Now." "Oh, the floor has fallen away. I'm a situation." What situation now?" It's lazy writing is what it is.
I mean, I could see as like maybe it's supposed to be like crackling dialogue, or
this is like the least crackling dialogue I've ever read.
I know, but I mean, it's like repeating words. It's maybe it sort of sounds like, I don't know, stage dialogue.
That would be funny if there's some kind of like pun involved, but like there's not. I don't know. And maybe if it was just only one word, like situation, instead of it's like, what situation now? Like. So I read this chapter over with my boyfriend who's visiting, and he noticed some things for me, such as that there are 42 murmurs. The word murmur happens 42 times in this chapter. Maybe he did other things, but not right now. I noticed too the things that Anna's insides do, and like let's note everybody that she never uses any anatomical terms for vagina. She just says like there which we'll get into later. So her insides, they quiver. Gross. They quicken. Huh? Like, is she gonna have a baby?
Yeah.
That's what that means. Next, she says holy hell. Like, I didn't even do a word count because she says it so many times. And the same case with oh my, which we've seen earlier, but is like, it really comes in. I mean, it just comes up so much.
She's just so overwhelmed.
Yeah, oh my.
Okay, there's lots of gazing. It does a lot of things. Sometimes it's intense, sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's bright, sometimes it's burning. There's a lot of describing the way eyes are looking. And I wonder, like, if that's because she can't think of any other way to convey. Also, like, eyes and voice, basically, is the way she describes everything that Christian is doing. And, like, yeah, at some point she, like, turns over so that Anna can't see him anymore. And I wonder how, if at all, that... Nope, this is...
Okay, so this whole thing, obsession with describing how, like, Christian's voices, Christian's eyes, like, all that stuff, that could be a kind of way to balance out the fact that, like, she's not... I mean, this is a sex theme, but really it's not that explicit.
Yeah, you're right.
So to make up for that and kind of like push the emotional value of it, I think that's maybe she's just kind of describing more the things that we look at if we were talking to him. Excuse me. If Anastasia was talking to him. I got a little confused there for a second.
Okay, he says, I really want to make love to you. Please, come to bed with me. That's just, like, not something anyone says these days. I feel like that's only something you see in old style stuff, where, like, come to bed is, like, a euphemism for sex that people would, use rather than saying, let's fuck! So yeah, it's just very romance novel-y and awkward. Let's see. She said, he holds me against his hips. I feel his erection, which he languidly pushes into me. Like, they're not undressed yet, so that line, like, just made me immediately think that he was putting it in her. And I was like, whoa, already? They don't even have their clothes off. Just awkwardly worded. Pushes it against me would probably be better. There's a lot of not referring to the vagina, but feeling things happening there.
Yeah, I really hate that.
Okay, he calls her baby a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Some more after that.
Baby!
Oh no, baby, not yet. I want you sore, baby. Ugh. Can we, like, ban the use of the word baby in the bedroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's awful, but I mean... people use it all the time. Like, it's kind of the default pet name. But it's so weird. Like, why is that the one that everybody uses? It's basically infantilization, isn't it? And that's really weird.
I never really heard people say it outside of... what am I saying? I have not heard it used outside of media. Let me put it that way. I think I'd, like, be really weirded out if that happens to me.
Yeah, you're right.
But maybe some people do. I mean, it's impossible to tell because I'm only one person and we are only 3 people. So somebody else will have to tell us.
There is probably a reason for its, like, propagation just ties into, like, power dynamics again, because the usual counterpart to it is, like, daddy.
Daddy!
It is. And it's a very, like, it's like most people don't think about it, but that's, like, kind of a weird connotation to have.
Of course it
going
is,
on.
yeah.
Like, it's just terrible. Not even just because of the dynamics, but because of, like, the implied incest.
I guess so. I mean, that's really removing it from its context, though. I mean, some people, I don't know.
Well, what context would you say that it is, like, really in most cases?
When people are like role playing, or if they have, like a daddy dom relationship.
I mean, that's very. I feel like that kind of relationship is very specific, and it is used.
Yeah, that's kind of what
out
I'm
of that
talking about.
context.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's just thrown around in, like, regular, like, in media. That's how it gets used. Just regular, like, bedroom scenarios. People do that, and it's completely separated from that other thing. So it's sort of a very strange.
I guess it's like one of those words that, I don't know, it really depends on how you use it. Like sometimes it seems very natural and other times it's like, ew, like, don't do this.
Yeah. Okay, his voice is like an incendiary device. My blood flames. This makes me think of Blood Furnace, which was my favorite World of Warcraft server. Okay, so after he puts his dick in her, he stops quote, letting me acclimatize. Just this is a very strange word to put in the middle of a sex scene. It's very technical and like
It's clinical.
clinical, yeah.
It makes it sound like she is like a species being introduced to like another country, and they have to let her acclimatize.
Okay, another thing is that she keeps describing him coming as emptying himself into her or pouring himself into her. But he's wearing a condom both times, and I understand that like they want to say, oh my god, he's inside me and it's him inside me, but I don't know, you can't.
No, I think E.L. James was just confused.
I think if you want to do that, then you should save it for when they're not wearing a condom, because that's like, you know, way more intimate and special.
Yeah,
and for
I
this,
guess.
like, how does she know he's coming? Like, I don't think you can feel that.
Because of his external reaction, he's like, bleh!
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
guess, but like, how does, I don't know. And yeah, the saying that he's pouring himself into her
gross.
makes me think that he's just like tipping a glass of jizz into her vagina.
Yeah, just very clinical thing. Like, okay, let me just tip this into you. Okay, we're done. That's what it's like. This is what sex is. I pour glasses of jizz into you, and now we're gonna have a baby.
When they do it the second time, doggy style, she comes loudly calling out a garbled version of his name into the mattress. Let's all try this.
Wait, before we do that, I want to clarify. Her description of that, like once Anna turns over, like, is it actually supposed to be like doggy style, or is he like pinning her to the bed?
It could be both.
It might be pinning her to the bed. In fact,
She didn't describe it well enough. Like, I couldn't figure out what was supposed to be happening.
yeah.
Okay, so here's what I think is happening. I think they started out doggy style, but then he like shoves her down so that like, you know, her stomach is touching the bed, and then he does. So it's sort of like it's a modified doggy style, if you will. He's on top, she's facing down. Okay, yes. So we are now loudly calling out a garbled version of Christian's name into the mattress. So let me find a way to do. I'll just have to use my arm because all the pillows are gone.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, here we go. I think Chad wins that one. That was really good.
He usually wins.
He usually wins. Now on to not maybe so much of the mechanic stuff, but
Can I say some wording stuff? Page 112. Desire thick and hot pulls in my belly. That's just gross. Also, I don't think
I see that description in a lot of fan fiction.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it. I don't think desire works that way. It's,
hey,
I don't know, I'm
can
not-
say that
it
that
sort of
there's
does.
also
something
not
similar.
a girl, so
It's not a nice way to describe it though.
Yeah,
There's definitely some kind of like it's a goofy like it's a
stomach.
goofy
almost,
stomach
it's
feeling.
like it's like a good nausea.
Yeah.
So how I would describe it,
Hmm.
which is also not a great way. Which is also not like a pretty.
It's
way
definitely at like the bottom of the torso or whatever you want to say, and it's like a weird feeling. But yeah, she's I don't know.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Yeah.
To me, it just sounds like molten steel or something.
to. Yeah.
And a steel, molten steel, coming this fall, 2014.
She just shows her inability to describe things at all and just calls them hot. This also sort of comes up earlier when they walk into the bedroom and like she describes the bedroom and then she says there's a stunning painting above the bed. And it's fine that she doesn't actually describe the painting since it would slow down the pacing, but she doesn't describe the painting, and that's
Well, she sort of does, doesn't she? She says it's a picture of
It's
the
a
sea.
stunning painting of the sea. I mean, that's it.
yeah, that's all she says. It's not like she goes out of her way to describe why it's stunning or anything.
Well-
Which, like I said, the reason that it's fine that she doesn't do that is because of the pacing, but
But then
I
we
don't
can
know.
just assume it's one of those like really boring paintings, you know, like
Yeah,
those
the
houses.
wave.
Yeah, it's a wave. It's a wave in
but
a
then
sunset.
why is it stunning?
It's a wave in a sunset.
Maybe it's actually a picture of under the sea, and there are a lot of electric eels that
Stunning.
are stunning other fish.
That would be really cool. But of course, we never find out because she doesn't describe the painting, does she?
No. Yeah, it's a pretty minor thing because it just doesn't actually matter. So, like, Christian, like, immediately after he penetrates Anna, he's like, "You're so tight," and he's like, you okay? Which is like, it's just a really funny juxtaposition.
You think it should be? You think he should say the concerned thing first, or no? I see what you mean. He shouldn't be saying like, "Oh, this is great. Oops, how you doing?
Hey, you all right? Is everything going all right? Okay, let's keep going.
Let's go."
Oh yes, Anna, when he's describing her skin, like, "Oh Anna," he breathes, "you have the most beautiful skin, pale and flawless." I just have a big note in red here that says white supremacy.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But I mean, I don't want to be too inflammatory.
Well,
but,
I mean, imagine if you're a person who's not white and you're reading this book, you probably feel a little bit bad.
Exactly.
I can imagine pretty easily.
Yeah, I bet you can. Also, yeah, why wasn't this book catered to Chad? He's the perfect Anastasia.
I am the last princess of Russia. Oh yes, she uses convulse a bunch. She says, "I practically convulse, I nearly convulse," but she doesn't ever actually convulse, at least not in her own words.
Well, that's a good thing, because if she was convulsing, she'd be having a seizure, and they'd have to stop and call an ambulance.
Do you think he would stop?
One hopes so.
Well, she didn't say the safe word.
Safe word.
Sure, they didn't even actually establish one.
Because she's biting her tongue.
So sad.
Similarly, she uses delicious and deliciously, and also delectable quite a lot. There's a lot of eating words, like eating adjectives.
Delectable. I think that's pretty par the course for romance novels.
I am unfamiliar with romance novels.
I mean, I am too, but I would think that because, like, you know.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a romance trope.
Okay.
Just trying to describe how
Synesthesia.
synesthesically
Don't think that's
describe
the word.
things.
Synesthetically.
Fucking kill me. Synesthetically describe things, rather than just like, it feels really good in my vagina. I mean, how else would you do that? It feels like really great.
Well, I mean, this does bring up like an interesting thing about like describing experiences, like humans describing it. Well, not that anything else on Earth right now can describe things, but we do a lot of cross contamination, I guess you would say. And This is like an interesting linguistic thing where we borrow certain words that have nothing to do with another like discipline or medium or experience to describe those things. We use like heat words to describe like hot and cold to describe attractiveness or stuff like that. There's some stuff with color, like we use certain types of words to do. I'm sorry, this is terrible.
No, it's not terrible at all.
Like warm colors and cool colors, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then
I was choking her, and her face was turning blue with passion. His purple dick.
we use a lot of food words to describe human characteristics like spiciness and
Sweet.
Yeah, sweet and sour. I just got two more things. This one is it's a line that Anna is saying internally, and he closes his eyes and groans and thrusts into me again. She just says "and" like 4 times in a row, and then she starts the next like 2 or 3 paragraphs with "and."
And.
And.
I think that's her way of trying to sustain like a continuous event, which is, it's lazy.
I think she's trying to give it like speed or like a sense of action, which you can do that this way. However, she has such a poor grasp on prose that it really comes off as clumsy, particularly because she doesn't have a good sense of rhythm for when she's writing. So like meter and stuff breaks off in weird ways, and it sort of loses its flow. Okay, and the last thing, and this ties into a thing that Helmet Condenser and I created late last night.
Also, if you're not privy to this, Helmet Condenser is the one who did the reading for Chapter 8. A cool guy. All right.
Yes, thank you, Helmet Condenser.
Thank you.
This, we were talking about a thing that I think is funny, where there are certain words that if you insert them, usually either pizza or spaghetti, those words are funny, and they change sentences to be hilarious. So I would like to direct your attention to, in the print copy, it's page 118, but it's basically, it starts out with, "I stretch out beside him, feeling loose-limbed, my bones like jelly," that line.
Okay.
Okay,
My bones
so
like pizza.
it's even better than that. Let me see if I can get through this without laughing. I'll read. It's like 3 sentences. I stretch out beside him, feeling loose-limbed, my bones like jelly. But I'm relaxed, deeply relaxed. I grin at him. I can't stop grinning. Now I know what all the fuss... God damn it. I can't stop grinning. Now I know what all the fuss is about. 2 pizzas. There's like one other place where she describes her orgasm, and if you insert pizza, it's amazing.
My pizza
Okay.
shatters around me. Oh god, this is so fun. Ugh,
Yep, it's a fun game.
yeah. We have to do some of that.
Okay, situational.
What's the deal with Converse shoes? And also, they take off each individual sock. Who gives a shit? I don't need that level of detail. Just take off your fucking shoes and fuck.
Yeah, they're both wearing Converse shoes, and they both mention them by brand. I'm sort of guessing that has to do with like Twilight.
That's one good reason for it. The other reason is that they're in like, where are they? They're in Portland?
Yeah, Portland, Seattle
We're
right
in
now.
Seattle right now, but yeah.
Right. And so that, to me, that was like very like grunge in the 90s to wear Converse.
Yeah.
So like that could be, you know,
I think it's just because they're supposed to be hip and young.
Yeah, that
could be
too.
that. Hip young kids wearing their Converses. Woo!
However, like he's like so particular about where she spends her money.
Yeah,
I
why
mean,
Converse?
I feel like it's strange that he would wear Converse.
I mean, to be fair, it is a little bit. It was what I would consider slightly expensive, but it is in no way is it highbrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's expensive from the perspective of someone that doesn't have like billions of dollars.
Yeah,
But to someone like
Yeah.
Christian, well, think of it this way: would Kanye wear Converse?
he might.
Well, maybe.
Well, he would, but they'd be extremely expensive. Like they'd
Yeah.
be diamond studded.
Maybe special Converse.
Maybe the fact that they're both wearing Converse is supposed to like equalize them somehow.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good thought.
Even though he's a super rich billionaire, he can still like relate to on her
He can
level
still relate to the kids.
the poor masses.
He knows what's going on. He's got it going on.
He's hip and with it. That was just kind of like a general complaint, but here are my sourced complaints. Here's a quote from Christian. This is Christian's rationale-ish and convincing Anna like that tonight they should have sex, even though she's a virgin. So here's the quote.
We can start your training tonight with the basics. This doesn't mean I come over all hearts and flowers. It's a means to an end, but one that I want, and hopefully you do too.
So before I say anything, there's a really bad commas in here. I just have to tell you. Hearts and flowers, comma. It's a means to an end, comma. But one that I want, comma. And hopefully you do too. Okay, so with that, I would like scream and leave if somebody told me that losing my virginity was like a means to an end. That's really rude.
Yeah, that's
Can it
not
be special?
Yeah.
Don't you love me?
that's not sexy at all. And her reaction is, "I flush. Oh my, wishes do come true."
Well, is her wish to be... well, maybe it all works out because maybe she wants to be degraded. Just throw that out there.
I guess I don't know. That's so like I'm only acting this way towards you because I want to be nice to you. I'm only being nice to you now so that you'll like me and do other stuff with me later.
Hey, you wanna fuck, right? Like let's fuck so we can do other things.
It's sort of, and it's not really, he's not even really saying that he's being nice. He's just saying, I just need to get this out of the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's rude. That made me mad. The second thing, it's about Anna's boobies. Here's the quote: "You fit my hand perfectly, Anastasia," he murmurs, and dips his index finger.
I thought this description was kind of interesting. Actually, it was very like.
So then I should probably read it actually then.
Yeah.
Okay. He murmurs and dips his index finger into the cup of my bra and gently yanks it down, freeing my breast, but the underwire and fabric of the cup force it upward. His finger moves to my other breast and repeats the process. My breasts swell and my nipples harden under his steady gaze. I don't know, this is funny, but say what you want to say first.
I think it's actually sort of a good, like, it's a very strange, it's a strange thing to be doing, and I would have a pretty hard time describing it, but I think she does it pretty, like, she's, like, leveraging the bra to like, squish her boobs up.
It's kind of cool that they included that. I get it, like, he doesn't just tear off the bra or whatever. That's nice.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a lot of detail for a strange action.
there are a couple things that I would remove to make this good, obviously. Okay, his finger moves to my other breast and repeats the process. That is so mechanical. It's like so cold of
Yeah.
it repeats the process. I couldn't get over this whole section because he says that she fits his hand perfectly, but like either if he has really tiny hands or really big hands. It's really funny. I just couldn't, like, I just kind of had to stop and was like, but what are the size of his hands? Like, what if he has, like, tiny baby hands? That would be hilarious. The booby mystery remains intact. We will never find out.
He just says tiny T-Rex hands.
My tiny T-Rex
Fit
hands.
my hands perfectly.
Or, like, maybe he has, like, these little bug proboscises. At the end of this, it says, my breasts swell, my nipples harden under his steady gaze. I don't know, gazing at nipples to make them hard is really funny to me. And it sort of makes it sound like Christian is watching booby breads bake in the oven.
Is that how you make bread rise? You just stare at it? I've been doing it wrong.
Well, it is a blazing gaze
True.
sometimes. Maybe he's got heat vision.
A watched booby never hardens.
Unless you're Anastasia.
But that's the opposite of what's happening here.
Yeah, it is the opposite of what's happening here. So maybe this is some kind of inverted cooking logic that I don't understand, really.
Oh, maybe he's using his concrete elemental powers to, like, firm up the concrete.
Oh, he's firming her up! Theory proven! Doo-doo-doo. When Christian penetrates her for the first time, Anastasia cries as she feel a weird pinching sensation deep inside me as he rips through my virginity. This is so gross.
Ugh.
The word choices just make it shine out in its grossnosity. Listeners, we have to have a talk about female anatomy. The virginity does not really, like, doesn't fall out on the bed like they describe. It doesn't, like, bleed all over the place like that. So what happens is, typically, and, like, this could happen if a lady just puts a tampon in or something, you just stretch or slightly tear it, unless Anna has, like, some weird medical condition where it's horrible and thick.
Yeah, I never really understood how this worked until I looked it up thanks to this, and it's not exactly what I thought it was. It's still sort of accurate, I guess. I mean, it's...
You wouldn't be, like, ripping through it. That's not... Unless he was being really horrible. Like, a weird pinching sensation? What? That's horrible. And it's just... Wouldn't you feel like a tearing sensation, not a pinch? You know, I don't know.
I mean, maybe she's trying to lessen it, even though, like, the ripping part totally makes it worse.
And, like, she cries. I know she
Yeah.
probably means, like, cry out, but, like...
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. Okay, so later in the chapter it said, like, there's blood on the sheets. If there's blood on the sheets, why didn't they notice that, like, way earlier? Like, on Christian's penis or pubic area?
Well, I mean, she never sees his dick after it goes inside her. Like,
Well, how could she?
like, and then, like, he pulls out of her and then, like, immediately flips her over. I guess she just didn't have the chance to see any of this, and he just doesn't care. I
guess maybe he's used to the sight of blood. Although his hard limits list, I believe, it includes bloody things. So
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
I think that they could have maybe skipped over this part.
They really could have.
They could have, like, I don't know, explained away that she had been horseback riding and had lost, and had broken it that way, or using a tampon.
That would be just as bad, honestly. Like, oh, the virginity thing didn't happen because I was horseback riding. I mean, you just don't... It would be better to not even
That could lead to, like, one of those great segues that E.L. James is so good at. Like,
yeah.
Christian's all concerned, like, you're not a virgin? You just it's like, well, I'm thinking I was out and there was I was horseback riding. I was horseback riding. And
wow, Kate really likes horses. Kate!
They could have, like, passed over it, but, I mean, some people might say... You know, if she's a virgin, why wasn't there any blood? And then, in that case, you could...
Yeah, but then that's kind of like a weird mythology thing anyways. You know, that doesn't have anything to do with... She had to be in keeping with the cultural conception of what it is to lose your virginity. I guess now I understand a little better. But still, it's gross, the way that she describes it. That was kind of my point. Next Charles thing. Anna describes her orgasms as this. I fall apart in his hands, my body convulsing and shattering into 1,000 pieces. Okay, the other one, her second orgasm, exploding around him as I climax and splinter into 1,000,000 pieces underneath him. And then the last orgasm. My body convulses around him, and I come, loudly calling out a garbled version of his name into the mattress. Is this a metaphor? No, it's not. Anna is literally shattering into pieces. Suddenly, Christian's dick is in a pile of shards of Anna. I can only assume he molds her back together around his dick so that he can have sex with her some more. There's also more evidence that Anna and Christian are not human.
so maybe all the blood was from Christian.
Yes.
Oh, from his dick getting cut up?
Oh god, I hope not. Dick shards. sucking his dick. I find this is supporting evidence for Chad's theory that Christian is a concrete elemental. So she shatters like concrete shatters. That's definitely happens. If she's like exploding, where's all the property damage? Okay, the last thing for me, here we are, about the way that their sort of sex session ends. Here's the quote. Christian follows with 2 sharp thrusts, and he freezes, pouring himself into me. There's the pour. As he finds his release, he collapses on top of me, his face in my hair. Fuck Anna, he breathes. He pulls out of me immediately and rolls onto his side of the bed. I pull my knees up to my chest, utterly spent, and immediately drift off or pass out into an exhausted sleep. So as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, I made my boyfriend read this chapter with me because I wanted to see what his reaction would be or if he'd have any good suggestions for the podcast. We both agree that this is kind of unacceptable behavior for a first-time thing. It's less if you've been doing it with each other for a while, but it's still really weird, like, oh, like...
Well, I mean, maybe it's not... I mean, she's the one who immediately falls asleep.
I don't know. I just, like, rolled up into a ball. Like, this is more like a... It seems more like a traumatic...
Yeah.
But maybe we'll think about that later or something.
So I put in the Anna claims that no one's ever come up to scratch. Both Jose and Paul are obviously into her. This was weird to me before I thought of the thing about them not meeting her standards. So is this some sort of weird indictment of nice guys, saying that if you want a lady, you gotta be a billionaire and super handsome and mega aggressive, or otherwise a lady will not even acknowledge you as a romantic potential? It seemed really weird to me.
So I have 2 kind of responses to this. One is that maybe Jose and Paul came up, but they didn't scratch. Christian is the only one who's been kind of brave enough. Oh no, well, Jose did when he was drunk. To kind of like touch her and make her like it? What am I saying? But yeah, kind of. And then the other is to kind of say like, all right, maybe this is where it matches up with Gore, the Gore universe. So the nice guys are kind of like the betas, and they just are little fuck slaves. And then people like Christian are the masters, and there you go.
Okay, next. There's lots of rule breaking in the chapter. He's gonna make love to Anna, he's gonna sleep in the bed with her, even though, like, he never does those things. And this happens a lot in romance. Someone's icy exterior is broken thanks to one weird old trick from an awkward person.
Try this weird trick a mom made up for awkward people.
I guess I understand, but it's just it's a weird trope. Not weird, I guess. You're the only person who can save this person from their weird ways.
Wow, like, you're so special, when in reality maybe she's not all that remarkable.
This just happened in another book that I'm reading called Aftermath, which is a male romance novel about these dudes who are kidnapped and locked up by this crazy guy, and then the story takes place afterwards when they find that they are the only people who can help each other's PTSD out. I recommend it. It's kind of good if you're into that sort of thing, and it is sort of BDSM related, but like the BDSM is super real in that they're being like kept and beaten.
Right, it's not a consensual
against their will
situation.
Yeah.
That actually does sound like an interesting plot. I kind of want to read it.
Yeah, I like it. Oh, and the rule they break is that, like, this one guy's like, I never let people fuck me in my house, and then they fuck in his house.
Oh.
Anyway, the bedroom description seems weird. Let me read this.
Oh, I hated that. Yeah, please read it.
His bedroom is vast. The ceiling-height windows look out on lit-up Seattle high-rises. The walls are white, and the furnishings are pale blue. The enormous bed is ultra-modern, made of rough, gray wood, like driftwood, 4 posts but no canopy. On the wall above it is a stunning painting of the sea. First of all, this bed doesn't sound ultra-modern. It sounds more like kind of shabby chic, especially if it's got, if it's like driftwood 4-post.
I mean, a bed made out of driftwood, that is so... disgusting. I mean, I cannot think. I mean, maybe if you had like a weird like sea shanty theme in your house, but
is there like does he like have some weird connection to the sea?
Arg, I'm Captain Christian. I was on a ship until I lost my leg. Thanks to a whale shark biting it off.
Also, like, blue is very obviously a theme in this book.
Blue bra.
Anna dresses in blue a lot.
She
gets the blue bra. His furnishings are light blue. So what's up with that?
Well,
yeah, well, they do the thing again where it's like white walls and then pale blue furniture, which is a terrible color scheme. It'll look terrible.
Let me get all color theory on you here. All right, Trill's interior design corner. Whoa, bo, fanfare. If it is indeed. So if we think back to Anna's skin tone and why the bra would not match with that, it's because her tone of white is probably going to have a pinkish or red back tone, right? An actual white, like, you know, pasty white, really white. Maybe the undertone is like blue or something. then you can have the pale blue furniture and it works. Cheryl's interior design color theory corner is now over.
He fingers her for a little bit, and then he just jams his stick
That's
in.
totally uncool. That's totally uncool.
I mean, I understand that, he's like, I'm gonna fuck you hard. And she maybe should have been prepared.
But that's not what he does. He jams it in, and then he proceeds to go very slowly and methodically.
Yeah, but you don't jam it in. I happen to be in a special position where I can talk about this with you guys. Don't think about it too hard. When it comes to first time tightness, you don't do that. That's not even possible. She'd be screaming and crying probably. Unless she's kind of had gone down there. But if she's never even masturbated in her life, it's not going to be all relaxed. It's going to be freaked out. And it's especially with the emotional stress of a first time. I don't see this happening at all.
Maybe she just wants him so much that she's overriding her body's natural reactions.
I mean, okay. Yeah, that's romantic. Whatever.
It's terrible. He's terrible. It doesn't make any sense. I was saying, even the excuse that, she should have been prepared because he had said, I fuck hard. He doesn't do that. I mean, he does that.
He pulls the fuck hard gambit, and then he doesn't fuck hard.
He does the one thing, which would be unbearable, and then he's like, all right.
Oh, it could also be a really sadist thing, which is horrible too if you think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know I said this was going to be vanilla sex, but let me do this one really abusive thing.
Okay. It's only now that I register he's still wearing his shirt. The prophecy comes true.
What's the prophecy?
The prophecy of him not wearing pants and just wearing a shirt. Remember way back in the hardware chapter?
But the socks and the shoes, he took off the socks and the shoes, the Converse. He took off each sock individually, but yet, the prophecy has come true.
They have sex. She rolls over, then he takes out another condom, but did he ever take off the first
they
condom?
never described him taking the condom off.
Technically, she just may not have seen it, and she's like, there's something happening, and I don't know what it is, and then he's fucking me again.
How can you be so not focused on the genital that's going into your genital? I just don't.
Maybe he's doubling up. Which you shouldn't do,
Which you should not do, because I think the friction builds up, and it makes it even more likely that it will break. Yeah.
Yep.
So don't do that, listeners. Don't double up.
Just never let anyone touch you.
Also, never let anyone touch you. But if you find yourself putting a condom on, switch them between.
Make sure you have a gun.
Shoot anybody who tries to touch you.
Anna never would have been in this situation if she just had a gun.
If Anna had a gun,
Jose would be dead. Christian would be dead.
And nobody will have ever touched her, except for maybe Kate, and then that's fine because she's a friend.
The part where Anna wakes up to the sound of piano playing reminds me of Jose's favorite movie, Blade Runner, wherein Deckard wakes to the sound of Rachel playing piano after he is super tired from the act of taking an artificial life.
Do you think E.L. James likes Blade Runner?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I can't remember, in one version, this might be one of the places where Deckard has a dream of a unicorn, which later suggests that he may, spoilers, be a replicant himself. So maybe Anna's a replicant. It's a bit of a reach, but... So they didn't change the sheets after... Okay, here's the line. Bed, he orders. I climb back onto the bed, trying not to think about the blood. He clambers in beside me and pulls me into his embrace, wrapping his arms around me, so I'm facing away from him, blah, blah, blah. Why don't they just rip the sheets off? That's so gross. There's just, they have the opportunity. They're just let's just roll into bed on top of this blood.
Well, I think it depends where on the bed the blood is and how big the blood is. How big is the blood? How much yardage are we getting here with the blood coverage? If it's one little teeny spot, oops, I was on my period and it leaked out a little bit, that's kind of okay. But if it's the size of a ham or bigger blood stain, why am I thinking about meat again? So weird.
Anna and her ham blood.
Anyway, if the blood stain is larger than the size of a ham, then yes, please take the sheets off the bed or sleep in a different bed. They have the other bed. They have his bed. They have the leather bed. I mean, the leather bed, if you bled on it, you could very easily clean it up. I'm just saying. They probably just should have gone to another room.
It's gross.
It's gross.
Right at the beginning, Christian says a thing, which is when he's really angry about the virginity stuff. He's like, well, you know a lot more about me now, which is entirely Christian's fault. That is stupid. And then Christian saying the thing about how old she is and that she's still a virgin. That's stupid. There's going to be a lot of me just calling Christian stupid. For example, Christian is completely, he's just assuming that Anna's there to discuss all that stuff with him because she wants to have sex with him, which may or may not be true. As far as we know, it's sort of true. Anna doesn't really know herself at the time. She's not admitting it to herself, but it could have been more of an actual romantic crush rather than just like pure lust.
Mm.
So it's bad for him to assume that everyone just wants him.
But why would he have any reason to assume otherwise?
I don't know. He
I
wouldn't.
mean, if your fan fiction is close to canon, then everybody wants him. So
That's true.
it's true.
And everybody wants Anna.
I mean, it's amazing that Anna even made it this far without like, screaming and exploding. Although she does explode when she orgasms.
She finally
She
explodes.
finally
I mean, she
explodes.
managed to avoid Kate's fate and didn't melt, but
Yeah, but he was able to kind of form her back, so it wasn't like it was her demise.
page 112, there's a longer thing that I've edited down, which is like muscles clench in the most delicious fashion. The pain is so sweet and sharp.
Yeah.
Would that really be painful?
No.
Where she's just
No.
feeling intense desire?
No.
and,
The
like,
feeling is an intense
lust?
one. It is not a painful one unless she has a problem. So maybe she should go to the
Yeah.
OBGYN.
Why is it painful? What is actually happening to Anna? Is she transforming? Will she become something terrible in the next chapter? So, and then also on page 112,
Yeah.
Christian is like constantly covering Anna in the stupid quote unquote like feather kisses. What do those accomplish?
Feather
Like,
kisses.
how are those central? What's going on
Well,
there? He's just like,
you see, son, sometimes when you're with a lady, she doesn't like it if you rush and put your gross mouth all over her.
that's not my point. That's not
Sorry,
not
I
the issue.
didn't mean to.
Like,
That was rude. But then what is your point?
I don't know. I guess I don't have a point.
I ruined everything.
Like, I just don't see what. Okay.
No, okay, no. I want to know. What is it? What is it? Tell us what it is.
Nope. Moving on.
Fine.
Nope.
Fine.
Moving
Don't.
on.
Fine. Don't. Fine. Just don't.
Eventually, like, Christian is asking, it's when he's finally entered her and is starting to move and keeps asking like again and like waiting for a reply, but I like would he stop if she said no? Do we think that he would?
Yes.
You do?
It doesn't really seem like he's very super turned on at this point, to be honest. Like, yeah, he's got an erection and everything, but he seems there. He's not like, oh yeah, feels good. Like, that's how you can kind of tell between, like, is there control in his own, like, can he control himself? And I would say yes. The answer is yes, right?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of, like, self-control and that he would be, like, crazy with lust. I just mean, like, if she had said, like, don't keep going, would he have just gone on anyway because he's Christian?
Well, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would, like, actually, well, maybe he would. But in this situation, it doesn't seem like he would enjoy that kind of thing. To me, he likes pain and all that, but I don't think that he's, like, a literal monster. I mean, he might be. We have to see. It really depends on how you read the book. If he's the roofie given, bra check-in guy when she's drunk and passed out kind of guy, and those actions came from like a place of aggression and horribleness, then yeah, maybe he would. But if he's just like really socially awkward, which is, probable because he's rich and can do anything, then yeah, he might actually, not want to keep going if she said no. That's just my take on it. I don't know.
I think that is a good take. I really was curious, like what other people thought. I sort of agree. Oh yes, that also reminded me. I meant to comment when I think Cherry Doom read the line that had languidly in it. Why would you use languid there? You guys know what languid
Doesn't mean
means,
like
right?
lazy.
It's sort
Lazy
of,
and slow, yeah.
but it's like an entirely effortless sort of laziness. Anyway, it's a really small nitpick. Page 118. This is the exchange where Christian asks like, "Oh, did I hurt you?" And she goes, "You are asking me if you hurt me?" And Christian replies, "The irony is not lost on me." I don't understand this exchange at all. Is Anna implying that it's silly for Christian to ask if she's all right because, like, after just like ramming his dick into her, a complete virgin who has never even masturbated, is because he gave her 2 orgasms? Like, she's saying like, "Oh, it's fine because that was great." It doesn't really make sense to me. If that is the case, then Christian's basically like, "Yeah, whatever. I know it's a stupid question.
I'm pretty sure it's like, he's a sadist or a dominant. He like shouldn't care if he hurt her or
Right.
not.
So
and she's like, why do you care if you hurt
well,
me
to
or
me,
not?
that's a grave misunderstanding on her part, because if he's like
Yeah.
a real dom or whatever, and yeah, I'm gonna use that terminology, a real dom. If he's a real dom, he wants the consent first. He doesn't want to hurt her for like no reason. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I just completely was not getting exactly what sort of an exchange was happening there.
Also, maybe he wants to know because he wants to have hurt her and he wants to confirm that he did.
Or maybe he wants to find out if she likes the pain. Yeah.
Maybe.
I think it's interesting how or I guess Chad is just reading some of these things as like very like predatory and weird. But I think that's a valid reading of it as well. Like it could be that. I think maybe the reason I'm not is because it would disturb me too much to read it that way. So I'm just like, all right, this is 2 awkward losers having awkward loser sex.
Oh, I am reading a large majority of it is like creepy and predatory. Some of it I just don't understand. Like that, I just didn't quite understand that exchange. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, okay.
And then the next immediate thing, which I already brought up, was when Christian has Anna turn over. I just didn't understand. Like I couldn't visualize what was supposed to be happening there because of how the description happened. At first I thought it was going to be doggy style, but then it sort of sounded like he was pinning her and he had her by the hair so that she couldn't move her head.
Yeah, like to me that sounds weird. Like, did he pull her up? I mean, that's not pinning, but if you have her by the hair.
So it sounds like she's pushed against the bed, like the mattress, like face first, and then
he's like pushing her in two different directions. I see where that could confuse you, but
just as like an image, the description wasn't clear.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you are not used to filling in the spaces like I am, you would not necessarily understand what's going on. And like, I mean, because I had to read this chapter so many fucking times, I did finally kind of understand what was going on. But I admit at first that was kind of like a jumbled thing to read.
So what you're saying is my experience is the correct experience.
Yes, exactly. Chad, you are Last Princess Chad, and this book is meant for you. So, I mean, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that Anastasia's white, female, and not Chad. That is the failing of this book. Actually, everything is the failing of this book.
Everyone, please write E.L. James with that particular complaint.
Dear E.L. James, why is Chad not the princess? Make it stop. And then it's time for favorite lines. I'll read my favorite line for everybody. Here it is. Don't worry, he breathes, his eyes on mine. You expand too.
God.
Okay, so she's saying this, like she's looking at his dick and is thinking to herself, oh no, will it fit? And he senses this telepathically and says, don't worry, you expand too. Which is horrible. It sounds like, he's trying to sell her vagina as some kind of infomercial product. This expands too! She's a trapper keeper.
Yeah, my reading of it, first of all, I burst out laughing because it was hilarious. And second, I was like, kind of like a suitcase. She has a zipper, expands for more storage. Christian, what a terrible person.
And a horrible guy.
This chapter was pretty much full of just hilarious and awful stuff. I listened to it at the gym. I can't imagine people glancing at me at any moment. My face was just like a horrible expression of either laughter or terrible disgust. My favorite line is, he grasps my hair tie, pulls it free, and gasps as my hair cascades around my shoulders. I like brunettes. Like, does it really cause this visceral a reaction that he, like, gasps at her hair?
It's like her hair was, like, camouflaged when it was tied, and then now
Yeah.
you can see the color, like...
It had optic camouflage.
Yeah.
Just light just bent around it.
Maybe in an original draft she was wearing
She was
a
a predator.
headscarf.
That reminded me of something. I actually meant to include that. And when he says the thing about, like, I like brunettes, it's so... The way that it is stated and the way that it's written, it's just so childlike. It's like he's like the I like turtles kid.
Yeah.
Like,
I was about to say that.
What are your interests? Hamburger.
I like brunettes. It was really hard to pick. The ones that I pulled out, because these are all the ones that made me laugh. Well, don't worry, you expand too. And then suck me, baby, because that line is so terrible and it's hilarious.
Suck me,
And
baby!
then E.L. James is continuing, like, let's talk about hands and feet. What is it about feet? Which is exactly the same line as, what is it about elevators? Be prepared. And finally, I want to fuck your mouth, Anastasia.
I went to pick your mouth, Anastasia. He's got his finger in her mouth and she bites it. And then he's like, oh, you are a sweet girl. But, like, in my mind, if I was Christian, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, that's not what you do!
A
He's
naughty,
like, hey,
sweet
don't do
girl.
that.
Slap her and be like, no! That's not how it works!
Well, I don't know if you need to do that. I'm sure she doesn't bite him that hard.
Okay, well, she bites down on him, and it's enough to make him gasp. If she's mimicking what she would do to his dong, that is a no-no, and she needs to stop. Unless he likes that,
Yeah.
Well, she doesn't know what she's doing.
which maybe he does, but probably he doesn't, because he likes to cause pain, not receive it. Now is time for Goddess Watch. In this chapter, the subconscious is described as somnambulant, which means sleepwalking, and yet she is able to be conscious enough to make a nasty remark to Anna about Christian being nearsighted in the beginning of the chapter. So we may be inclined to say that the goddess has declined slightly if the subconscious is able to make a remark. But Anna gets to have sex, which means that she's heeding the goddess's wishes and perhaps has become the goddess's avatar. Oh my god!
And I think that maybe the goddess is actually controlling the subconscious in the subconscious's sleep.
Chad, what do you think of all this?
Maybe the subconscious really is just sleepwalking and wasn't actually talking about Anna's situation.
It just happened to be highly topical.
Yeah, it's just some dream where she's like talking about some guy.
Maybe she's at the optometrist
around,
or something.
Yeah. Perhaps he's farsighted.
Perhaps.
So should we raise the level then?
We need to raise the level.
I do think we should raise the level because two chapters in a row, the goddess has been MIA, missing in action, not the singer or songwriter.
Today, I'm wearing a shirt that is gray and it has holes in it, so I like to raise the level to holy gray shirt gray.
Holy gray shirt gray.
This is fitting in, of course, with the themes of the episode so far, which is him keeping his shirt on and the grayness. So now on to what was good. Is this an erotica book? Is this guys? Is this sex? Is this sex? Guys, is this sex?
One could argue.
Honestly cannot say.
I think that this is sex, and finally, that means that they're doing something right with this book because it's erotica and they are having sex. So there you go.
They put a thing that's supposed to be in the book in there, but it wasn't good.
Just because it wasn't good doesn't mean that it wasn't sex.
Okay, well, let's say you order a pizza and you get a rotten pizza.
Okay, but that's still pizza,
bad
Chad.
pizza's still great pizza.
Maybe it tastes good. Maybe you're just being closed-minded.
The saying is like pizza is like sex. Even when it's bad, it's good.
Even when it gives you food poisoning.
Pizza's like a fine wine. It gets better as it ages, like a cheese. And there's cheese on pizza. Anyways.
That was a good chain of logic.
Much like the chain of logic that Christian uses to have sex with Anna.
When he says to her, after apparently she's agreed to have sex with a monster, he says, "You are one brave woman. I am in awe of you." And I thought that was kind of cool, that he was like acknowledging that she was being brave and strong for like putting up with being a sub. And it kind of ties back to what I was talking about in the meta episode about subs being strong and brave and not to be looked down upon, unless that's
I agree with you, but I have two qualms about the context in which this line comes up. One is that they're not going to be doing any BDSM things, so she's merely brave for having sex, which is alright. You can be brave for losing your virginity. I think that's true. But the other thing is, it just comes at like a weird time. Maybe at the end he could have said like, "You were really brave." You know?
I think that might be a little patronizing.
But is it patronizing now?
Gives her a medal. Congratulations. You were really brave, as he places the medal around her neck.
And I wonder, Chad, did you read this line as like him being condescending?
It's hard to say because his sincerity is sort of muddled in with all of his conniving. Yeah.
Conniving Christian.
When Anna says, like, "I'm quaking like a leaf," not because it was a good thing. I can relate to that. It's not actually good.
I can relate to quaking like a leaf. But nothing else in this chapter.
No, it's because I'm a sad, pathetic prude, Babby.
Ooh, Princess Chad, have faith. Your prince will come. Princess, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is.
You're making me quake like a leaf. Leafs can't talk.
But they can scream! Now we're on to safe words. I actually found this difficult because the sex having was so whatever all the way through. It was hard to pick out a standout worst thing about the chapter as well. I think for me, maybe it's not like an actual line that exemplifies it, but the fact that Christian is like, he's a little bit pushy after realizing she's a virgin, even though he's like, "Oh, you want to go back home?" Like, that's just mind games or whatever. She's not going to go back home, and he knows it. And then when they have sex, when he says they should have sex, like, she doesn't do anything. She has pleasurable feelings from the sex, but that can happen regardless of the level of consent or, enjoyment.
Yeah, she's very passive.
So to me, this indicates she's not really all there, and that is sort of what disturbs me. Like, if she had been less passive, you can only argue that she did something like, she sort of like tries to match the pace of the fucking, like she bites the finger, but it's really not that much. Like, she's not like, "Let me try something," like, which is weird. Like, can't you be complicit in your own virginity loss?
How about this?
Okay, but anyway, that's my safe word, is that she doesn't seem too into it.
Almost all the sex talk is just horrible and the worst, and I hate it so much. It was just weird and kind of stilted and gross. But there's a very obvious standout for me. "See how you taste," he breathes against my ear. "Suck me, baby." This is just after he had been fingering her. His thumb presses on my tongue, and my mouth closes around him, sucking wildly. I taste the saltiness of on his thumb, and the faint metallic tang of blood. Holy fuck. This is wrong, but holy hell, is it erotic. No, it's not. It's so gross. I mean, I guess some people might be into it, but she's like sucking the blood from her hymen.
Yeah, there's something kind of weird about
thumb.
that, and not erotic.
And it's really strange.
And by the way, I like to mention that this is the line, the end of this portion is the line that Gilbert Gottfried read that was probably honestly really funny in his reading, which is, "Holy fuck, this is wrong, but holy hell, is it erotic?" if you remember that.
I agree that that is like terrible and disgusting. Probably not for the same reasons you do, but actually mostly the same ones. I have to say that I think the reason that it's being written this way, that like, oh, it's wrong, but it's erotic, it's because it ties into like this taboo thing that's running throughout the book. I don't think it's good.
Just because something is wrong does not make it erotic. I feel like there's some conflation here. Yeah.
That's my point. I think she's conflating that.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a terrible conflation. That's
maybe like after he, oh god, I don't want to say it. What have I gotten myself into? Maybe after he breaks her virginity, he goes down on her, and then he comes up for a kiss and he's covered with blood. See, like, holy hell's that wrong? But holy hell's it erotic.
For some reason, I thought that did happen.
No, it didn't happen. Maybe not. Oh god, I was gonna say not yet, but I'm actually not sure.
I don't see how it could happen unless she was on. I guess maybe she's on a period later. Anyway, gross. I mean, if you're into that, sorry, we're being so knee-jerk, reactionary about it.
Here's a disclaimer for all that. Like, I don't think that it's like super duper gross. I think maybe Cherry Doom is a little bit more grossed out than I would be, but like, it's just that like for a first time thing where they said it wasn't gonna be kinky.
I think this is the wrong.
It's the wrong place. They didn't talk about it. He doesn't know if she's gonna like it. He brings up this bodily fluid and is like, yeah, have it. That's not okay.
Chad?
The whole virginity thing at the beginning, still, because it's all still bad from the last time. He's still angry about it. He's going to like rectify a situation.
I mean, that's really rude. Yeah, I mean, she should be able to choose when that happens.
Anna is like cognizant of the fact that she's being like called a situation.
Except she's flattered by it somehow.
Yeah, she still lets it happen because she's like letting lust just override her judgment. It's not a good thing. And then she asks herself why she's feeling guilty about it, which is a good question. Like, why would she be feeling guilty? He's making her feel guilty about being a virgin. Like, why would she be feeling guilty about that? Like, he's guilting her over it.
Virgin shaming.
I was sort of surprised that neither of you brought this up. There's like 3 or 4 different instances where E.L. James describes Christian as having like a look of triumph. It just is tying into the typical narrative of like conquest, like sexual conquest. Like he's conquering a virgin and he's triumphant about it.
This reminds me of a line from Harry Potter where Dumbledore's eyes have a look of triumph and it's really like weird. It might be in the book before he dies.
He's saying something about, I can't believe I remember this. Harry's saying something about something about was it something about the connection between him and Voldemort?
Dumbledore has a look of triumph or whatever.
Harry Potter's not sure why, but it turns out later that it...
Anyway, so I think my point with all this is when there is a look of triumph for no real good reason, there's something wrong. And that's the feeling that I get from that. Magic could be afoot.
Aside from like all the possible foreshadowing it could be doing, it just reinforces all of those like negative ideas or themes or narratives about like male sexual conquest, and especially like taking a girl's virginity.
Especially, you know, given that she's very much the passive member, he's the taker. We are done with all that crap, so I guess it's time for the spoiler dungeon. All right. Ask me your questions.
Okay. Is there more foot stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
But it doesn't increase in magnitude though.
Just every 10 pages someone's like, what is it about feet? And like then Seinfeld leaves. What's the deal with feet?
Okay, I think it's pretty obvious, like, but like, does he have a thing about his chest?
Yeah, he does. Okay, so when he was a little babby and his mom was a crack whore, the dealer would come over and have sex with her, and he would also just, you know, be a dick and do dealer dick things. And one time he put out his cigarette on Christian's chest repeatedly instead of an ashtray. Because baby's an ashtray, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of sad. It's pretty sad. And he has some scars there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do they ever use other words for vagina? Do they ever say pussy or maybe even cunt?
I don't think they say either pussy or cunt. I mean, Christian might say pussy. Why don't we do a word search right now? I'm going to do that.
Because, I mean, she has no problem saying the word clitoris, but she never says anything for the vagina except there.
Yeah, there. Pussy. Reader has finished searching the document. No matches were found. Cunt. Reader has finished searching the document. No matches were found. Vagina. Oh. We got one vagina. Okay, bye. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
Later, baby.